What's up, everybody? I'm gonna do some shoulder and hip stuff today. I'm gonna do the morning routine real quick, and then I'm gonna get into shoulders and hips today. So I'm gonna show you some stuff that I'm gonna perform before I go run, and then do my workout, and then get back to work. So what I like to do in the morning is wake up, mobility, then I do some work, obviously breakfast and tea, and then I do some mid-morning mobility, workout, and then I go back to work basically. So I am part one right now, getting ready for my run. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right, so we're gonna start with the neck, head and neck, squeezing the fists. You could even hold this if you wanted to, or kettlebell. But I don't really like that. So I'm gonna rotate my head all the way around. My whole body is squeezed about 30%. Two or three rotations one way, and 2 or 3 rotations the other way. Scapula, squeeze the fist, retract down, forward, up. Just follow that circle. The hard part here is keeping the elbows straight and wrists from going into flexion and extension. For scapula, I'll do it just like this too. Same thing. Okay, and now for the thoracic spine. I'm trying to keep my shoulders behind my hips. They flex the upper back down. Rotate, bend, extend back. Rotate, bend, flex around. And switch. All right. For the elbows, supinate, flex, pronate, extend. Switching it up. Now, a lot of people won't feel this. You may just have to irradiate a little bit more. You can also do it with the shoulders abducted. Just make sure that you're squeezing. All right, for wrists, in, up, out, down. So when you do this, you're trying to point those fingers toward the ground, and then toward each other, and then up toward the sky. Side view, it doesn't look as good. Out, down, in, up, and then other way, in, down, out, up. See, I don't really have that great of wrist flexion there, do I? Wrist extension, flexion, and then you have ulnar deviation and radial deviation. Ulnar going toward the midline, radial going toward the thumb. That's your radial pulse right there that you can test for. Okay. All right. So we've done wrist, elbows, shoulders are next. Strong body here. Flex. Create a circle. Rotate that shoulder as it goes around. Go all the way back. Unrotate or unwind. Open it up. and go down. Flexion, close it, reach back, open it, reach forward. Switch side. Flex. Internally rotate to extension, externally rotate to adduction, flexion. Up. And we'll be getting more shoulders after we get through the hips and the feet and knees. And we'll go back to the hips. So I'm going to use foam roller, which is useful for FRC in lots of ways. So you can do flexion here, and then externally rotate the hip and try to pull this foot all the way up to here. Okay, well, it's not going to go there. And then we're going to abduct the hip. Foot is underneath the knee. And then from here, the knee is going to go down as the foot goes up. This is where we're going to try to cheat and extend our back, but we're not going to this time, right? And then we're going to expand that circle so that the glute goes toward the sky, knee to knee. So the knee should be bent here. Okay, and then extension, abduction, flexion, across. And then same thing, sweep it up. You could even use this foam roller as good tactile feedback. Do extension. See how bad that was? And then extension, abduction, and then switch. So again, you can use this as a good marker of how far you can get that foot up. And then back, out. One more. Then back, out, and up. I'm going to shake it out a little bit. All right. For the knees, I'm going to do these on my back. So I'm just going to straighten one leg up, then extend the other leg down. I'm going to flex that hip. Find good. Really actively get it up, and then we're going to turn the foot out and then bend the knee as much as we can, trying to get that heat, trying to limit this space here. Turn the foot in, extend. Out, bend, in, up, out, down, in, up, and then down, out. Up, in, down, out, up, in, down, out. Ankle, full circle. Locking that knee out and flexing that hip, which is creating that irradiation, which will help you recruit more muscle, which will help you control that circle, which will help you maintain that range. Switch. Externally rotate the tibia. Extend the knee. Internally rotate the tibia. Bend the knee. Out. Up. In. Down. Out. Up. In. Down. Now in and up. Out. And down. That's a little harder for me. in, up, out, down, in, up, out, down. And then just the ankle. I definitely have more hip issue here anteriorly, like a lot of people do. Well, not a lot of people, but people that played soccer, like I have. Full circles of that ankle. Could be FAI, or it could just be a crappy hip. I would definitely have to get assessed. Another circle. Cracking is normal. If we didn't, that'd be weird if we didn't crack, right? All right. Now the kneecaps. This you have to be back against the wall. If you're not used to this, if you are used to this, remember, this is the one where we make sure our whole leg's relaxed. Then just push that kneecap side to side. Just easy with the thumbs. And then up and down. And then push it all the way around in a circle. If there is pain, it's good that you're assessing that pain, one. And two, you can select better exercises to mitigate further pain. So that's why you do this morning routine every single morning, because let's just say there was some weird new knee pain. Maybe I did something during my workout yesterday that I shouldn't have done. Wake up, knee pain. Only way you can assess that is if you assess that. So that's why assessment is number one in the morning through your mobility routine. And as you know, or maybe you probably don't know, I've broken this leg. I've had knee surgery. So broke the leg during a soccer game, 28 years old. So that was, let's see, it's like almost 8 years ago. And then 2 years after that, when I was 30, I had knee surgery. And that took a while to recover. Now I'm pretty back to 100%. Probably almost back to where I was when I was 27. Probably better though, because of the FRC training. Now we're gonna get the toes. All toes up. And then squeeze the toes into the ground. All toes up. Squeeze the toes into the ground. Just the big toe up. Remember, we want at least 60 degrees. The big toe dorsiflexion. Okay. You can use a foam roller to get more dorsiflexion of that big toe and stretch it that way. You could also get the small toes that way too. Okay. Foam roller, it's a great barrier, but it's not a great facilitator. It helps you move tissue, but it doesn't help actually grow tissue. Make sure that if you're using a foam roller, you know the differences. All right, let's continue with the toes. Big toe down, small toe up. You can put a mini band around these two toes here and go up and down. Create that mobility going inward or going, we want those toes to go medially, right? Because a lot of times our shoes pull those toes in, pull those pinkies in. And what happens is we get bunions on the outside or the insides of our toes because we're pulling those toes in over time. So that's why you have to move those big toes. Okay, big toe up. Notice that this toe is a lot better than this toe. Switch. Switch. And then all toes up. And then piano, pinky to big toe down. Notice that this toe likes to touch the neighboring toe. I don't like that, so I'm always having to work on my left foot more than my right foot now. So piano down, and then just a big toe touch like 4 or 5 times. Okay, ankle, your combat position. Love this one. Or just a straight lunge and just going over that ankle capsule here. Rotating that knee forward over the ankle. Any questions before I go to shoulders and hips? If toes arch a bit, is it best to push them down flat while lifting big toe? If toes arch a bit. Toes arch a bit, is it best to push them down flat? Yes. Yes, if you need to manually move your toes in order for them to move, then do that in the beginning until you have the control without having to manually or passively stretch this out. So that's the difference between, this would be a passive stretch here. This would be an active stretch, okay? That's the difference between active mobility and flexibility. Any other questions before I do shoulders and hips? And just make sure that you're breathing. Big inhales, big exhales. You could do some Wim Hof breathing, 30 seconds or 30 inhales and exhales, and then a giant inhale, hold, and then slow exhale. Have y'all ever done Wim Hof? Do a thumbs up if you've done Wim Hof before. Give me a thumbs up. Thumbs down if you haven't done Wim Hof breathing. Have you ever done that? Thumbs up if you have, thumbs down if you haven't. All right. Shoulder time. All right, we got one person. Okay, wow. Lots of Wim Hofs in here. Do you inhale through your mouth or do you inhale through your nose? Because he does it a lot through the mouth. He's like, and then everything out, everything in, everything out. Life force in, life force out. So yeah, I've done Wim Hof breathing before. Adam does Wim Hof breathing, right, Adam? All right. Shoulders, you can kneel or stand. I'm just going to go with it. I call this the 90-90 for shoulders because the elbows are obviously at 90 degrees here, right? I'm going to squeeze my fists. And what I'm doing here with this top shoulder, let's call this the high shoulder here, is I'm externally rotating it, okay? And then with this bottom shoulder, I'm internally rotating it, okay? And I'm using both energy to create more rotation. And as I do that, I'm going to squeeze the core. That's why I'm in this fixed position here, okay? I mean, you don't have to be like this. You can be like this. You can be standing. You don't have to be kneeling. So I'm only kneeling just so you can see my whole body. So you can do all this standing. You can do everything standing that I'm doing now, just so you know. All right. So a side view for that shoulder external and internal rotation, and you'll see how bad mine is, okay, when we do this. So elbows, again, are at 90. Remember, you go internal rotation with this arm. Notice that I'm going to try to cheat and flex my wrist. I'm going to keep that wrist in line. A good way you can do that is by holding on to a ball instead. So you have a little tactile feedback here. So what I'm going to do is externally rotate this shoulder here. Okay, as I internally rotate this shoulder here. Okay. And then a side view, I'm going to try not to cheat. I'm going to try to bring that elbow up, torque it back, rotate it back. That's about it right there. Okay. So I could take a picture of that, measure that distance, work on that area, and over time, hopefully see some improvements. So I'm going to go back to that position, 90-90. You're going to switch. So squeeze both fists, or if you have lacrosse balls or tennis balls, squeeze those. Try not to flex or extend the wrist. Hold. Breathe, but shallow breathe. Try to keep your diaphragm low. And then switch. A lot of times you're going to want to bend the elbow too much and it'll look like this. Try to bend the elbow 90 degrees. Then switch. And then you can do external rotation, bilateral external rotation. So this would be abduction of the shoulder, pronation of the elbow, and flexion of the elbow. If we go like this, this would be horizontal adduction, and this would be horizontal abduction. So that's what the shoulders do. Okay, this would be horizontal abduction, so go ahead and try that. We're just going to squeeze here, chin in line with the sternum. So try not to jet the head forward. A lot of times people will go like this. Okay, try to keep that head in line. Try not to arch your back too much. So abduct, horizontally abduct here. Squeeze the fist, and then relax. If you did that, probably really burned. We'll use my mouth. My nostrils almost completely blocked. Wow, Ruth's on. Ruth, can you hear me? Oh, wow. Shoulders out, open, squeeze the fist. We're going to internally rotate. And then externally rotate, squeeze fist. Internal. Now, what I like to say is pretend there is a X here on the elbow eye. So this would be the elbow eye, right underneath the bicep here. This would be the elbow. We'll just call this elbow eye. So when we actually rotate, you can see it, and we're trying to turn that X down, and we're trying to turn that X back. Turning that X back would be external rotation. Turning that X forward, internal. We're just going to go back and forth here, squeezing the fist. Okay, now we're going to do shoulder flexion. We're going to squeeze the fist. Do this standing or kneeling, and then we're going to just draw little circles here. Like we're trying to draw a circle into the ceiling. Tiny circles. And try to do not with the wrist, not with the elbow, but with the whole shoulder. And then other way. Other way. And then one more time going the other way. And then relax. If you are kneeling, you're going to want to release those legs. We'll go right into the hips here. So we'll get into 90-90. Front knee is in front of that hip. So this would be my left, or it would be your right. And this knee's at 90 degrees. Ankle is dorsiflexed here. You can use a kettlebell in 90-90 to create a little bit more radiation. That's why you'll see people hold on to a kettlebell in these positions here. It creates more force and neural drive, which will create more control, motor control when you're moving your body. So for example, if I were to just go like this without holding on to this, probably deliver less force to that hip. So that's why we do things like irradiation or overload, right? And the only way to progress movement or to progress adapt is to overload specific tissue through the law of progression. All right, so for the hip here, I'm just going to just hold on to this weight. If you don't have a weight, you can just squeeze the fists. Okay. I'm just going to lean forward and then come back. Find a good line of tension. Keep the back flat. And then lean back. Forward and back. Okay, now I want to challenge you by trying to almost pull this leg off of the ground as you sink forward. And then as you lean back, I want you to push with the outside of the leg. So when we lean forward, I want you to try to use the inside tissues to pull it off the ground. It's not going to leave the ground, that's fine. And then when we move away from the ground, I want you to push the ground away. All right? So here we go. Lean forward and pull yourself in and push away. And one more. And from here, I'm going to rotate toward the back leg. I could even use this as a passive means to help the stretch occur. So now we're working with hip external rotation of this lead leg, and now we have hip internal rotation in this rear leg. So our front leg was external, our rear leg was internal, okay? So going further into internal rotation, my foot would go off the ground, okay? So for this, what we can do is take a kettle or a yoga block, lean forward, and try to hover the foot over the kettlebell, just like that. Okay, if you don't have a kettlebell, look at all the different things you can use. You could use a yoga block, it'll be the same thing. Plus, yoga block will give you a lot more advantages because it can be changed as far as height, but it doesn't really matter how tall it is because you can always change the angle. So same thing here, you could use a foam roller. But today, using the kettlebell. So I'm going to hover the foot over and then hover it back. Now, if you want to make it easier, go away from the point of hinging there, or the lever, and then the harder going closer to, would that be the lever, or would that be the pivot point? Oh gosh, that's really hard. See how much I was cheating there? I'm leaning forward. So if you have really good mobility, you can do this without leaning forward. So I'll show you what a beginner should probably be using, like me here, right? So you could use something like this. Let's see if I can get over this pole without leaning forward. Okay, so this would be more my level, more my skill, okay? I've been able to go over that. Then you can try maybe a lacrosse ball. And then obviously you could just move it up to make it harder, right? Now I'm already starting to cheat there. All right, so I'm done with that side of the hip. I'm just done with that. I'm switching side. All right, going into 90-90. Definitely this back hip's a lot worse. This left side's a lot worse. Hold here. This is when we're going to do our kinetic hinge forward, and then we're going to lean back. Again, I'm trying to pull this leg off the ground as you lean forward, and then push it into the ground as we come back, okay? So you're pulling yourself in, and then you're pushing yourself away. So this would be a kinetic 90-90, external rotation, lead leg, front leg. Here we go. Pull your. Actually, I'm just going to do a couple without pulling in and pulling back. I'm just going to see how it feels first. Inhale, embrace. Pack the air low. Diaphragm sinks. Whole body is nice and tight. Okay, now I'm going to try to pull that front leg into my body as I go forward, and then push it away as I move away from the ground. Okay, internal rotation, back hip. I'm going to try to hover the foot over, okay? Maybe I need to put it on its side, okay? Leaning forward, hovering over any object. It could be a tennis ball, it could be bunched up socks, it could be a shirt, right? You just want some, tactile stimulation, feedback, that type of thing. And also, the visual is also really important to have. I'm going to challenge myself by trying not to lean forward. Make it a little harder. Try to sit up a little higher. Nope, not even close. Alright, so that would be hip external and internal rotation. After something like that, you might want to just do some hip cars after. Sideline position. It's always a good one. Whenever you're in the sideline position, it's always really good to have that block, okay? So your head's just not hanging there. Unless you're working on anti-lateral flexion of the neck, that would be a good neck exercise, I guess. So hip car here, just kind of, after doing some hip stuff and shoulder stuff, whatever you're doing, it's always good to take it through some easy cars here actively. And you can also work on this sideline position. You can also work on this external rotation of that front leg while you're holding onto the kettle with the head on a yoga block. You just feel real stable here. Now, without this block and without this, you can do the same thing. It's just you can concentrate more on that hip with the different barriers to help you. Okay. All right. And then we'll get the other side. Some knee stuff. This is how you rotate that knee. And flex the hip. All right. Toes, ankles. So good to do before your workouts. Lots of cracking going on. All right. Another one you can do. Now moving away from the hips in that sideline position would be the shoulder. Internal rotation here. Just like this. Or you can use that kettlebell. And what you do is stretch this tissue for about 2 minutes. Your shoulder internal rotators. Okay. Make sure that your posterior delt is on the ground here, not floating. Okay. Again, really important to have a block here. We don't want to be like this. Want that block, foam roller, pillow, whatever it is. I'm kind of like in the fetal position here. Hips stacked. And then I'm using this kettlebell to squeeze onto. And then my pals contraction, be trying to pull this kettle off the ground, creating an isometric contraction 0 to 100%. Trying to pull it off the ground, literally, and then trying to push or smash the kettlebell into the ground further, going deeper into internal rotation. Just like that, kind of smash this into the ground, and then resetting, and then doing it over, okay? You don't have to use a kettlebell. You can just go like this, internal rotation. All right, and then right after that, if you want to still use that block for external rotation of the shoulder, then what you can do is lie in the prone position, the elbows at a 90-degree angle. Okay, and then just try to lift that off the ground. Okay, and then you can challenge yourself by trying to lift off the block. Okay, make it harder. And then you could do some pals and rails where you push down into the block. First, stretch this position maybe for about 2 minutes. And then start smashing this into the block from 0 to 100%, and then pulling away into your rails contraction for about 15 to 30 seconds, and then holding here. You could also do some hovers where you go over an object with your shoulder, similar to the one we were doing with the internal rotation of the hip. Okay, so that would be some shoulder external rotation stuff there. And then for shoulder flexion, again, you could use a block, put your shoulder into flexion. I like putting my forehead on my wrist here. Lift off. You can axially rotate here. Do about 10, do that 10 times for about 15 seconds each time, or do it for like 20 seconds for like 6 times, something like that. And then you can make it harder. And then you can also do the hovers here. And if you want to make it harder, just move it closer toward the joint that's being moved. So that would be some shoulder flexion hovers, okay? And then again, for extension, same principles. Stretch first. Then trying to push this ball and fist into the block, 0 to 100%, and then lift it off. And then I could turn it into some hovers here. Make it closer to the movement center here. Okay, so that'd be shoulder internal rotation, or sorry, extension. You could also do some hovers here in the prone position like this. Kind of start here and do some lift offs, working shoulder extension and elbow flexion, and then you can progress it, working on shoulder retraction here, or scapular retraction. What I'm doing is getting into shoulder retraction first, and then passively holding. Pal's effort, trying to turn the retractors in and push into the block, and then my rails contraction, trying to pull away my shoulder scapula away from the block, going deeper into retraction of the shoulder blades. So pushing down and pulling up for retraction, okay? And then for depression of the scapula, you can stretch it out like this. You can do depression of the scapula. So the scapula is going down, it can go down, it can go up. We want a down stretch. Then pals pull up, rails push the fist into the ground for scapular depression. Okay. That's all I got for today. Any questions before I head out? All right, everybody. Have a good day. We'll see y'all later. Don't have a proper training program which you can join, but I'm always giving away free advice. So just ask me any questions you like. You can message me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll reach out. Thanks.